This is Business AM and most certainly Metropole Television. Welcome to this Tuesday's edition. My name is Sibalaja Charles Kiage. You can get talking to us on our SMS line 2146 on our social media platforms at Metropole TVKE. I'm at Kiage Simba. All right, today on our economic review, we are joined by Reginald Kazitsu, an economic analyst of Washington Nagar, chairman of BIMA Intermediaries Association of Kenya, and Edward Kusawa, who's also an economic analyst. Let's therefore introduce our first story this morning. Now, Safaricom. Now, the telco has disclosed that its interest in the market of 108 million people and about 50 million phone subscribers would have only been significantly enhanced and translated to higher bid prices had the Ethiopian government allowed it to operate its mobile money platform M-Pesa there. Now, disclosures contained in the transcript call covering events to end of July reveals that Safaricom sees a license without mobile money hurting profitability and lengthening the period of recouping the investment. On the transcript call, Safaricom Chief Executive Officer Peter Ndegwa cited, and I quote, "A license that doesn't include a mobile money license will significantly reduce the level of profitability and therefore, in essence, our bid price for the license, but also our profitability and payback period." Safaricom has never disclosed how much it is willing to bid or the expected annual rate of growth the investment in the Ethiopian market will be expected to generate, terming it as a competitive and sensitive information. According to Vodafone Business Chief Finance Officer Satish Kamath, who was then serving as Safaricom CFO, only a license with mobile money would enhance a bid price. Okay, just before we talk about that, let's look at what Safaricom performance has been so far. And we're going to look at that data we have for you on the screen so we can actually take a look at that. You can actually say the Safaricom net income from 2019 September to 2020 September as well. You could actually see that has been quite significantly affected, and they did say that this was as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, which has seen us transform monies less than 1,000 bob for free, and also business-to-business transaction was also pretty much affected because of the reduction in business activity in the country. So, Reginald, good morning. I'm going to pick your 2 cents on that before I bring in Edward Kusawa as well. Now, Safaricom says that only a license with mobile money would enhance their bid is the only thing that would make sense for them. What does that mean? Does it go to pretty much stress the importance of mobile money transactions in M-Pesa's, in Safaricom's business?
Morning, Simba.
Good morning.
When you enter an environment which is highly regulated, especially even in terms of pricing, because Ethiopia does not really operate a free market, and some of the benefits Safaricom has had in Kenya is to run at a near monopoly stage where they will set the price of voice, the price of data, the price of text messages at exorbitant prices for a while before the competition started doing price wars with them. Then we saw the prices coming down. So you realize going into a market like Ethiopia that is regulated and pricing is also regulated to a certain extent, then they might not be able to profit that much from voice, message, and text. Considering there are already competitors that are already there in the market.
Yes.
So the place they would have made money is on an area which is not so much in Ethiopia right now, which is mobile money. And they will be going in there as pretty much the first dominant force that is there. And then they will actually have made a proper killing on mobile money transactions. The same way we have seen here in Kenya, where M-Pesa has grown up to close to 30%, 35% of total revenue for Safaricom. Nonetheless, I'm sure the Ethiopian government have their reason for moving mobile money from there. And ideally, telcos and mobile money need to be separated at some point in time. And it's a battle that here in Kenya has been tried to push on Safaricom, for Safaricom to hive off M-Pesa from their mainstream business of being a telecom company. So as Ethiopia has taken the stance of, we are not going to have this as part of the licensing, you need to get a separate licensing for mobile money, which again also in Kenya at some point in time we have to reach at that level, because as much as M-Pesa is revolutionary, there are risks that lurk around M-Pesa. The day you lose your money on M-Pesa or anything happens to your balance, who do you report to? Which regulator do you go to? You cannot go to CBK because M-Pesa is not a bank. When you go to Communications Authority of Kenya, they will tell you, we license telecoms, we don't license financial services. So you find yourself in a situation where you have no redress apart from going to the court.
Pretty much, Edward. Let me bring you on that as well. Now, the Ethiopian Communications Authority, that is the ESSA, disclosed that at the end of June, it had received 12 expressions of interest for the issuance of 2 new full-service telecommunication licenses. My question would be, Edward, we did know Safaricom also had the option of pretty much going in to acquire a lesser operator so that it can actually grow its stake in the telecommunication space in Ethiopia. Do you think that now would stand as the best option out?
Okay, good morning, Simba. I don't know whether you can hear my voice quality. I was having a problem receiving you, but then if you can hear me, this is what I have to say. The Ethiopian Communication Authority has drafted several directives that guide the issues of telecommunication service licenses. And obviously, as my previous colleague has said, there's a lot of protectionism in Ethiopia. And that market, the protectionism in that market is aimed at shielding its state corporations. And the Ethiopian Central Bank would only allow locally owned financial institutions to offer those mobile services. So that leaves Safaricom with a GSM, which is a global system for mobile communication. And so if Safaricom has to enter that market, then it has to look for partnership. It has to look for collaboration. The Ethiopian government is extremely cautious about its local industries. And, you know, for mobile service transactions, it will not be able to give Safaricom the kind of loophole that Safaricom is looking for. And therefore, Safaricom will adversely be affected by trying to bring in collaboration with local players within that market.
All right, just before I let you go, Edward, so I bring in Washington this morning on that as well. I mean, when they say, and I want to take you back to what they've said, and Reginald, you also get ready just to weigh in on that as well, that they say that, well, they're in talks with the CBK to bring in transaction charges as well. And they're saying that some of the factors that affected the bid also in Ethiopia is currency depreciation, which has also been occasioned by what we're going through right now as through the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, how much is that a factor in that, Edward?
Is that directed to me, Simba?
Yes, it is, sir.
Can you repeat that question? Because I'm having a voice issue. Maybe come again.
Can you get me now?
I can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear you, but it's, just ask the question.
All right, Edward, I'm sort of asking that, well, they say that currency depreciation is one of those factors that are affecting their bid or the ability to get into proper business outside the government, outside the country, which is why they're negotiating with CBK to bring in the transaction charges that have been expunged as we're going through the coronavirus pandemic. How much do you think that is a factor in the ability to do business outside the country?
Okay, Simba, I'm trying to really listen to you. I think there's a problem of voice either from my side or maybe from the other side, but just trying to pick up a few words that you're asking about Safaricom's capital. Is that what you're asking?
The ability to do business outside.
Maybe I can weigh in there.
Yes, Reginald. Yes, Reginald. You can come in on that.
So I think The depreciation of our currency definitely affects any business that tries to do business outside the country.
Yes.
And nonetheless, Safaricom has been a local company.
Yes.
It's only now they're trying to make acquisitions outside because I think they are reaching a level of a place where their revenues are plateauing, as when you've reached the peak or the climax of what you can actually get out of this market. And it again boils down to speak of how small our market is. Because if you then look at the size of Safaricom, and you compare it with the other big companies in the continent, you realize Safaricom is actually very small.
Yes.
Why? Because the Kenyan market is also small. So any business that wants to grow sustainably over time, without being protected from external parties, has to think Africa-wide. Because that's where the market is. And currency there comes in and now plays a role. So depreciation of a currency definitely makes investing outside expensive, but I guess what is more needed is more of certainty in where the exchange rate is. So even if the Kenyan shilling goes to 130, and we know it's stable at 130, that's the true market value, then you can make plans based on that rate. But the problem that any company will have right now, including Safaricom, is not sure whether the shilling will wake up tomorrow at 115 or at 120, or central bank will do their miracle and bring it back to 100. So currency certainty, I think, will be more key than even the devaluation of the currency itself.
Pretty much. Washington, let me also bring you on that. So you
Let me also say something.
Yes.
I wanted to, now that I've heard what my colleague has said, I'm able to pick up from his answer when he was asking about capital depreciation.
Yes.
For Safaricom as it seeks to expand its market regionally. I think they've been able to factor some of these things, and they are able to look at the profitability within that market. I mean, you're serving about 100 million subscribers. And if you're able to enter into that market at the moment, obviously the supernormal profits that you're able to rope in from such a regional market will be able to cushion against some of this currency depreciation, the value that the Kenya currency loses. So I think, you know, that's a huge market. That's a market of about 100 million people. And if you're to be able to look at, you know, your capex versus, your capex versus what you're going to get in terms of the profitability, then it's a very viable kind of growth strategy. So I think from where I see it, once Safaricom is able to put its foot, especially on the mobile services, we understand that M-Pesa brings some supernormal profits. If you look at their capital investments, initial capital investments, vis-a-vis their profits, then the capital depreciation is not able to cut in. It will not be able to affect their profits as such moving forward.
Okay. Washington, let me also bring you in on that. You can actually see that what Safaricom is fighting for is a mobile money business. I mean, they don't want to say it. They're calling it quite confidential and sensitive information. But you can actually see what they see as a proper entry into Ethiopia. They want to introduce mobile money. Does that go a long way just to sort of stamp the importance that M-Pesa now is to Safaricom?
Well, thank you so much, Ben. Good morning. And I think the issue of voice, actually, I think it's coming from your side because my two colleagues, I can hear them very well.
Yes.
And you keep on breaking up, but I'm able to get how the conversation is moving. And of course, I mean, mobile money transaction, M-Pesa, so to speak, is actually, we can say that's the main thing that's where Safaricom is making money. And I feel it's well, just like my colleague has said, that protectionist thing by the Ethiopian government is what Safaricom maybe is trying to fight.
Yes.
And maybe even Safaricom feels that they can bulldoze the Ethiopian government. They've been doing it in this country. But you see, not every country is Kenya. Now, well, the Ethiopian government said that they ain't going to operate the mobile money market in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian government feels its own local companies are the ones that are supposed to do the same. So, well, Ethiopia, I mean, then Safaricom will have to say if they really want to go into that market without mobile money, or they need to go look elsewhere for a better deal, so to speak. I think that's the main thing, Safaricom.
Pretty much. Reginald, I want to take you back to what Safaricom said when they're announcing the results just the other day. Well, they did say that they have plans to be a technology company by 2025. But they don't seem to pursue that area, especially when we're talking about a foreign market, why would that therefore not be the biggest plan, despite them having challenges in introducing mobile business in Ethiopia?
I think Safaricom trying to be a fintech would then make sense for them,
yes,
because they already own the customer. If you look at the other technology companies that are there, your Cellulens, your Silicon, they're integrators, they don't own the customer.
yes,
Safaricom owns the customer. So when you own the customer, you have ability to transform yourself into a fintech company by offering now alternative financial services to your clients. The same way they do now with you can buy your fiber and get your insurance. M-Pesa is pretty much quasi-banking, as much as it's not licensed by central bank as a banking product. So they own the customers. They own, according to their own records, 21 million customers. And it becomes easy to transform as they now bring other financial services to there to compete. Nonetheless, they will have to do that at a micro level. I always go to, you need to understand the dynamics of the people that you are serving.
yes,
So even as they're going to try and get into Ethiopia, even for mobile money in Ethiopia, the way the Ethiopians behave, the way the Ethiopians think, the way the Ethiopians trust might be different from the way Kenyans do it. So you might go there with M-Pesa and they think, no, I'm not going to use this to send money because of their own cultural, religious beliefs. So it would be very foolhardy to say it has succeeded here. We can transport it and take it here and it will also succeed. So them moving to become a fintech makes sense. It's now getting value from the 21 million people that you have, because selling products, selling data, data analytics. There's so much. They know everything about you, Simba. They know where you are in terms of location. They know where you spend your Friday evenings. They know how much you spend on this. So it becomes very easy for them to start integrating many other services and own you completely. Is it an ethical and right thing to do? Well, I guess the law permits them to do that. But at some point in time, I think some regulation will have to come in to make sure that now we do not have a super organization that knows everything about you and you're heavily dependent on them, that if they collapse, then they become a moral hazard to the economy.
Pretty much. Let's move on to the next issue this morning. Now, insurance premiums in Kenya increased by 3.2% in the second quarter of this year to 121 billion shillings from 117.28 billion reported in quarter two of 2019. Gross premiums from a long-term insurance business, which includes life assurance, group life, annuities, and pensions, rose by 8.2% to 47.9 billion in the period under review. Now, the general insurance business met motor insurance, property insurance, among others, registered only 0.2% increase in gross premiums to 73.18 billion from 73.03 billion gross premiums recorded in the second quarter of 2019. Now, the general insurance business is the biggest contribution to Kenya's insurance industry. In quarter two of 2020, it contributed 60.5% of all the premiums collected in the insurance sector, while long-term insurance business, life insurance, brought in 39.5% of the insurance premiums. Now, to help us understand this, let's bring in Washington Deguer, who's going to paint a picture of what this really means. Fine, Washington. We've seen some of the leading companies in the long-term insurance business, which are like Britam Life Assurance, Jubilee Insurance, and ICA Lion Life Assurance. Now, leaders in the general insurance business in terms of gross premium and our UAP Insurance, CIC General Insurance, and APA Insurance. The insurance premiums have gone up in the second quarter. Fine. Where did this money come from? You have been crying about how you've been saying withdrawals and cuts to some of the policies that you've been getting, but it looks as if things are not bad. Washington, can you get me?
You're breaking off, but maybe, I don't know whether it's my internet or what.
All right, can you get me now though?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, my question is, quarter two has seen premiums rise. Is that good news or bad news, since we're talking about this in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, of course, it's good news, Simba. I mean, the premiums went up. How would it be bad news?
Well, but in the
but the
context
thing that
context of Washington, you have been crying about how you've seen a lot of surrenders and withdrawals of policies. I mean, why would it be that you're getting this money from somewhere else?
Well, I think there's a normal trend in the insurance industry such that insurance premiums rather keep on going up every year all the time. If you look at any quarter, the premiums keep on going up. It's like a trend that's there in the industry. Because also remember, there's also much more awareness about insurance as information trickles to the public. They know the importance of what insurance can do. So maybe to a certain extent, with or without COVID, there's still that need to insure, and people seeing like it's very, very important to have insurance in your life. But now what should be looking at the underlying issues in the insurance industry. Those issues actually that are making insurance still to be at 2.43%, 2.34 actually, because the insurance penetration has actually gone down as compared to the GDP. We should be looking at the main underlying issues, because as we go on, if you follow, for example, my post or my newspapers, my newspaper articles that I do, there's always this issue of the industry not being properly. We feel the industry is not properly regulated.
Yes.
We feel there are too many bad things happening in the insurance industry, such that, I mean, Simba, there's one thing I don't understand. We have people in this country day in, day out crying about their claims not being met. Claims. We keep on crying about claims. We keep on going to IRA, telling them to sort out the claims issue. I don't think that should be happening. I think we should be having insurance companies. If you can't pay a claim, just get out of the market. You know, we don't need people being duped. We don't need people being conned, so to speak. We also have the issue of insurance companies even refusing with our commissions. We as intermediaries, the insurance agents and the brokers. You know, if you go to the same IRA, nothing seems to be done. So there's a lot of murkiness in this sector. Even the growth in premiums is not actually a factor. It's not actually something to look at and be proud and say the insurance industry is tidying up in this country. It's nothing like that. I mean, it's just a matter of, I mean, if you don't insure here, where are you going to go insure? Uganda or where? Where are you going to go insure? You know? And we also know the main issue, even why even insurance, for example, even is seen to grow, is this issue of compulsory insurance, for example, like in motor. You know? You have, I guess, if motor was not compulsory in Kenya, I don't know how many people would be insuring in this country, because the rate of the regulation, the issue of insurance companies coming in and doing what is supposed to be done is actually never done. We have a handful of companies in this country that can actually say they're doing insurance. 90%, Simba, 90% of insurance companies in this country are quacks, and they're thieves and they're fraud, you know?
All right, let me bring in Edward. I don't know whether you can get me now. Edward, could you confirm, please?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Let me just put it this way.
Okay, Edward, I want to ask you this question. Yes, because we have 4 minutes just before the break. Well, yes, there's something that Washington is saying that, well, you should not celebrate, because, I mean, the general insurance business is what has been the biggest contributor to that. In quarter two, it contributed 60.5% of all the premiums collected. But Edward, we do know they have been crying about how they've been receiving a lot of withdrawals and surrenders of policies because of the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. So why do we have this jump again? And when is this, how do you make sense of this jump? Yes. We seem to have lost Edward at that point again. I beg we take a short break, because I think it's that time.
People started feeling is about how to start insuring themselves and how to start insuring property. And I think when my colleague speaks about penetration, it's true. I mean, the product has not been able to penetrate. But I think there's more awareness. People are starting to now think about the future more keenly, and institutions and corporates starting to think of how they could now, protect their assets and protect their property and protect their health. So I think from where I see it, there's more awareness of why there should be an uptake of insurance products. I don't know much about the regulation because I'm not in that sector, but I think Mike seems to be quite an expert in that sector. is able to the regulatory challenges that have existed. But from where I see it, I think the uptake of products is because people are more aware, obviously, of their surroundings, more obviously of the environment and what is happening and what the future holds. People are starting to realize the importance, for example, of taking that health product as an insurance offering to be able to safeguard themselves in the future in the case of such sicknesses and where they find that they are not very well prepared. There's a small group that has roped in, but basically it's more of corporates and governments strengthening that sector. I think that's where the jump of an increase in that product offering. But generally, I think we need to do a more of those companies that my colleague is saying, and whether they are able to commit with some of their premiums. I think that is truly something very surprising. So that's what I think. Thank you very much.
Yes, gentlemen, I beg we take a break. Reginald, as we come back, the question is going to be, how do we make sense of this jump? Because they have been crying about how they've been affected by the coronavirus pandemic. In fact, they were crying as from 2019 about how the economy was not really supportive of their business models within the economy. Once we come back here on Metropole TV, but most certainly, Business Hour.